Hello, everyone, and we're back again. I know you're probably sick of us by now, but the way I figured it, I've got this time. I might as well use it. I mean, you won't be seeing me for ages, probably, or only at the weekends if when I'm back at work, because I have to be in bed by 7:30 because I get up at 4:45 every day. So it's going to be a nice challenge. So I hope you're all doing well. Please engage us in the comments, of course, in the chat, and I'll pop your chats up on the screen and we'll see what you have to say. And we'll probably be a bit less controversial, or maybe more controversial. Who knows how it's going to turn out today? How different it will be from yesterday. So, Sean, what do you want to say?
I've got a few controversial things to talk about, but we'll wait until we have an audience.
Oh, well, actually, Mike is here. Good evening, Micah from the Czech Republic.
Oh, is he in the Czech Republic as well?
No. I'm in the Czech Republic. That's why I said good evening from the Czech Republic.
COVID brain. I can blame that now. I can blame everything on COVID brain. So actually, I got a free pass.
Micah, do you want to come on? Because we were talking that you last time with Steve. Do you want to come on, or are you busy? Let's see what he says. I've got 3 people in. I can send you the link if you're sitting there with not much else to do. It's really hot again. I'm very annoyed because summer should be over. Back to school. He's working. I love it. People are working and watching us. I want to get paid for watching me. Hey Sonia, how's it going? No worries, Micah. Just thought we'd ask. We'll arrange it sometime in advance when you got free time. But yeah, I thought it would all be over. I thought, the cooler weather's here. I mean, we've certainly got darker evenings now. And, first day back at school today, just on a kind of preliminary basis. And it was roasting hot, and sitting here sweating in the evening. It's not pleasant.
This is cool. I just figured out something. There's a chat button down at the bottom. It sort of grays out the screen, but I can look at the chat.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but I can't see myself, so that's not very good.
Well, isn't it? I would thought it would be a bonus. I wish I could do it. I don't have to look at you either. Oh, sorry. I'll get myself banned. Jossy's also working. Last time the day zipped by. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. I'm not sure we'll be as exciting tonight. I don't know if Steve's probably busy or he's probably had enough of us after the marathon yesterday. But, we'll see. We might be able to entice somebody else to come on.
Well, as I said, I've got a very, very contentious and potentially controversial thing to say. And I want to pre-say this with a trigger warning.
Oh, well, I better put my fingers in my ears.
Mark, on Instagram, you get people that follow you, and it's for men, it's a beautiful woman and all these sexy pictures, and then immediately
all the time.
Yeah, and then immediately I get a message saying hi handsome and all this, and I'm me, and then there's somebody else that I know that's on Instagram, and a female, and she gets messages from guys that saying I'll pay you 200 or 500 pounds or dollars per day if you do X, Y, and Z. And I keep asking her to pass my name on, but she won't for some reason.
That's just outrageous.
Yeah, for 500 pounds a day.
Yeah. I don't know. I could be tempted for 50 pounds a day, to be honest. I mean,
hence the trigger warning, people, because I'm sorry I've put images in your brain that will never disappear. And if they weren't in there, they're in there now.
Pimping yourself out, Sean. Well, I mean, have you ever thought about getting an OnlyFans account?
And who says I don't have one?
Well, I suppose you could have one. There's all sorts of things on there.
Well,
I was talking to someone the other day who does it, and they just upload pictures of their feet for OnlyFans. Their normal job, there's no stripping or anything like that, but they make good money just taking pictures of their feet and putting it up on OnlyFans, and people pay them for it.
I think I'd get banned if I did that.
What, pictures of
But
your feet?
I could sit in my underwear and hold up books in pictures, I suppose.
Yeah. I had an idea once for a segment on my channel called Books on the Bog.
Yeah, you told me about that.
It should be perfect reading on the toilet and actually film it, sit on the toilet and read it, and say, this is a perfect book to sitting on the toilet. I think someone did make a tag. Was it Trip to the Loo?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
it was.
I remember that. Yeah.
But I think Books on the Bog, actually Books on the Bog would be a good YouTube channel, a BookTube channel. You could do all your videos from the toilet. What's your thought on taking books into the lab?
Not again.
you cannot have too much of a good thing, Gerald. What's your view on that, Sean?
What taking books into
the bog? Yeah, books into.
I don't. I try not to spend enough time in there. I would never leave a book in there because of the dampness and smell that it can accumulate in. But yeah, no, I don't. I don't even I try not to even take my phone in, But if I'm going downstairs and I need to stop off, I do. Susan TV Network, go buy yourself.
Yeah,
Gerald has given me another great idea for a top 10, and I'm not telling anybody. Well, it's in the comments, so it's actually I can't hide it.
Oh, I was gonna say it's not exactly a secret, is it?
Yeah,
damn.
I don't know. Writers.
Sorry?
Top 10 letter writers.
Oh, I thought you said top 10 naked writers. So.
Well, I could do that one as well.
I don't know. I quite like a good book on the toilet, me. I have to say. So don't ever borrow any of my books, people. You don't know where they've been, but yeah. And I'm sure a lot of you guys do too, even if you won't admit it. What have we got here? Jossie, it's a great idea. The bathroom has always been referred to as the library in my house, you see. That's perfect. Yeah. I'm just going to the library to have a think. That's it. I always tell my students, though, because they're always like, I don't have enough time in the day to learn new vocabulary. And I'm like, well, probably a couple of times of the day you're in the bathroom. So why not just plaster your new vocabulary on the door of the toilet? You're sitting down. You're just kind of passively learning it because you're staring around, nothing else to do. Swap it out again when you're done, or run out of toilet paper. It's a good idea as well.
See, the thing is that I don't like reading in there, but I don't mind, if you're having supper or something like that and you finish, you might as well just take your plate in and finish it.
Yeah. I don't read the whole book, Cat Dance. I don't sit there on the toilet reading War and Peace and not get up until I finish. Although I have to confess, I have been, I'll just finish the end of the chapter and then I get pins and needles and can't stand up. And yeah, so probably too much information. Peter the Book Lover's got a question for us, or for everyone, I guess, not just us. But do we have favorite theme songs?
You mean from like movies or
movies, TV shows?
I have quite a few. I think one of my favorites is from MASH with the words like from the film "Suicide is Painless."
I
think it's. I really like that one, but there's lots.
I don't know it. Can you sing it for us or?
Suicide is painless. It brings on many changes, and then and I forget. There's other words, but that's the first line.
I don't know. I mean, one that I always loved is the A-Team.
Yeah, I was going to say that. There's shows
1972, the crack commando unit was sent.
Yeah, there's shows that I don't quite like a lot of time, but I like the theme. So I made a list one time on Twitter. I think I was tweeting in all the shows that I like, but I was picking ones. Oh, another one is The Greatest American Hero, an old TV show. Great,
believe it or not.
Yeah, great song. A great song.
You and this everybody is going to put you off, Sean, and he's going to be angry that I say this. Sean doesn't like Seinfeld, right? So he's not going to know what I'm referencing here. But one of the characters in Seinfeld had that as their theme tune on their answer phone.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and it was I don't know. Did you know George? Did you ever watch it enough to know who the characters are?
George.
He's
I
recognize stocky bald guy, George Costanza,
yeah.
friend.
Okay.
And he had the thing where he's like, "Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep." I don't know. I can't remember how it all goes, but it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I like Seinfeld.
Well, I didn't like Friends either, but I liked the theme song.
Yeah. What's a
Pons?
pons?
What's Pons?
Winterland. What is a pons? I feel it's a abbreviation.
It must be
or
P-O. Is it an anagram and means something? Each letter?
P on the seat in our bathroom. No. P. See, it's a problem that it starts with P, and we're talking about bathrooms, so it's a bit tricky. I'm not alone, thanks. Is it Jossie or Yossi? Probably Jossie. Yossi. I'm not alone, but thank you. I don't feel alone. In fact, I'm so lonely. This is why I'm on here every night. Hi, Quinton. Hey, Quinton. What else have we got here? Okay, Peter likes that. Seinfeld is incredible. Quinton, you're really confusing me by changing your channel name or alternating your channels every time you come on here.
Oh, that reminds me. I meant to send them back a message. We might as well do it here. Quentin, are you available? You're available Saturday, Mark. We could have them on Saturday.
Yeah, I've got no life.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah. I forgot about that. So, oh no, are you free to do that on Saturday
Yeah,
night?
I'm free. I'm free.
Yeah.
But
Because tomorrow night I can't do anything. So
stuck with two Canadians. It's going to be a challenge, but I'll do my best. Micah loves that episode. It is a great. I mean, George is brilliant. Seinfeld's brilliant. I don't know.
Well, I kind of like I did see one scene that somebody showed me. Is it Kramer's the next door neighbor?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a thing like he wants to publish a book, a coffee table book that's actually a coffee table. I thought that was brilliant. That's the only thing that I'll say is brilliant because that's all I've seen.
Yeah. No, it is. It is good. Okay. Pons is a French dictionary. Well, that's good. Well, that's a good way to learn. I'm just trying to think what.
Actually, that would be a perfect thing to have in the. I wouldn't want the complete OED maybe in the bog, but maybe the condensed OED. Let's put it that way. That could be good, and then you go out and look it up.
To be honest, I often thought they should have, and they probably do have it. You know how you have the word of the day calendars? I always thought they should have had toilet paper like that.
They probably do.
So you rip off a square, and it has like some definition or some vocabulary you can learn. And
either that, or I take in my 60-volume Oxford National Dictionary.
What have we got here? Yeah, I like the Big Bang Theory theme tune. I'm not a huge fan of the show.
Oh, no.
Why? Just because are they Canadian?
Yeah. Well, no. Did you really want to know why I sort of dislike them?
I think everybody.
And it's an irrational reason, to be honest. But I don't really care for the music. But the main reason is a bit irrational.
You don't like? Is it Bare Naked Ladies?
Yes.
You don't like Bare Naked Ladies, Sean? Surprised me.
Not in that shape and form. No, okay. They started roughly at the same time as another Canadian band. Quentin, if you are Canadian, I think Quentin is, so you might know this band. It depends how old he is. It's called the Skydiggers. They started at the same time. They had way more talent than Bare Naked Ladies, but they never went very far.
Yeah, but if you're a Bare Naked Lady, do you need much talent? Or shouldn't I say something like that? I don't know. Sorry, I've been cancelled again. Well, yes, Quinton says he's backing you up here. No, sorry. He has no idea who they are, but Bare Naked Ladies suck. So, there you go.
Look up the Skydiggers Quentin on YouTube and look at their earlier stuff, their first two albums especially. Fabulous stuff.
I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. Have you seen that, Sean?
No, I knew it was on, but I think it was about the time that I stopped watching TV generally, when that start around, I think.
Yeah.
In general, I stopped.
Surely you mean the unholy Trinity, no? Yeah, I don't know. He's around. He might actually be in the Brattle at the moment, so who knows? I think he posted on Instagram. But we've asked him if he's around, and we're still here. We have, of course, asked him if he wants to come on. If not, we might try and get someone else for you. If the
Oh,
time
I
allows.
actually got it.
Ugly faces.
How can I mute this? Because I don't want to play the thing. Can you mute me, or do I leave and then come back in a minute? Yeah, I'll leave in a minute
I
and listen to
can
this.
hang on. I can mute you. Wait. Say something. Yeah, good to go. So that, oh, thank God he's been muted, eh? Oh, actually, I don't know if he can hear me. He can still hear me. But he goes on and on and on, doesn't he, all the time? Turn it on. Yeah.
We got a third old coot.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Fantastic. It'll be a nice surprise.
Let me.
You forward him the link, will you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out here.
So yeah, we have a third member joining us, but it's not the one you're imagining. But it'll be a nice surprise anyway, I'm sure. Big Bang Theory, yeah. I mean, I don't mind it. I watched it for a while, but it just I have a problem with this, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Is that sometimes these series just go on too long, and I lose interest, or I stop watching, and then I just never go back. One of the few series I watched, but it's not a comedy one, but literally from I can watch it again and again, and I can watch all the series. Sopranos. I think it's one of the greatest TV series ever made. But
I've yet to see the final season, I think, or maybe the last two, because I moved to the UK here and I never saw it. But the Big Bang Theory,
and you can still watch it in the UK.
I don't have TV. I'd have to pay for it, and I don't want to pay for it. But the Big Bang Theory is weird. I cannot sit through a whole episode of it. But I've spent probably hours and hours watching clips at various times on Facebook or anywhere else, and I enjoy it in that small little bits.
Yeah. Well, Sonia likes it. Micah loves it. What's Jim got to say here?
Well, I've got to be the old curmudgeon all the time and say I don't like it, like Groucho Marx. Whatever it is, I'm against it.
Spending my evenings watching these streams is so much better than actually reading. Well, Jason's come in and said hello. So, Jason, Sean sent you a message.
An email. I'm sure it did. Let me check to make sure it went.
Old people and technology. Apologies. Yeah. No.
Next video for age group is the problem with old people. So everybody watch for that.
The problem is, though, Sean, you're not old. You might actually offend genuinely old people.
But well, I'm using me as the old person.
Yeah, but what about people who are like?
Oh, so I didn't offend. So I didn't offend the young people in the young one.
I don't know.
Or was that okay?
I think it's okay. Young people, they're a little bit less sensitive, aren't they? Judging from recent things. Yeah, probably he did, but I think he's resent it, Jason.
No, I didn't resent. I clicked on
Penny. Big Bang Theory. Yeah, Penny's nice. Yeah, she's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say something about the neighbor, but
I can never hear the word penny though, because I don't know if I should say it. So apologies. If you're extra sensitive, everybody, then don't listen. Right. So in Czech, penis or pennies is penis in Czech, right? And in our textbooks at school, Oxford or Cambridge, I can't remember who it is, in their wisdom, have these like characters. And one of the characters is called Penny. And when they do possessives, the kids just burst out in hysterics because it's like Penny's cat, Penny's going shopping, Penny's doing this. And of course, they find it absolutely hysterical. You know what
Well,
kids
I have one word answer to that,
Yeah.
Mark. Panties.
Oh. It's like kryptonite for me. I might actually have to go. I just don't like that word. It's a pet peeve, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I don't like panties. So.
Do you have some experience or something that you can share of why you have this trauma over panties?
Well, yeah, but I can't talk about it. It's a word that just freaks me out. I think it's a word for children in my mind, right? You know how people make words in kind of a childish way, and when I hear panties or panties, it kind of just it freaks me out. I don't think adults should be saying it. I don't know. There's something wrong about it for me. I should put one of these polls in. I don't know. Can you do these live polls? I don't know. Can I do it?
Well, I don't know.
No. I think you can do it on YouTube, but not on StreamYard. But
Well, I don't know. I better I don't know if Jason's got. Yeah, well, we know it's Jason.
Yeah. So apologies, but I'm not a panty fan. No panties. That actually doesn't sound very good.
You did not go on panty. You did not go on panty raids or the P raids. You did not go on the P raids at university.
I don't need your help or Steve's help to get myself cancelled, it seems, this evening. So what do we got?
If you get cancelled for that, now that is just...
Yeah, but I said no panties, which is like bad, isn't it? Gracious, you guys. Yes, thank you, Amy.
Well, I sent you a message. If you want to jump on too, and there'll soon be 3 old coots.
Peter, I have to confess, I've yet to read Middlemarch. It is. Confess, I've yet to read Middlemarch. It is.
Things are going to get spicy.
I've yet to read Middlemarch. I think you have to turn off your.
Things are going to get spicy.
I think you have to turn off.
Silence.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, I was watching on YouTube. I had to close down the browser because I use Safari, so I had to download Chrome, which delayed me.
Oh yeah.
And your email link went into my junk box. No judgment, but that's where it went. So
it's where it belongs.
No respect. You know, you might as well call me Rodney Dangerfield. I get no respect.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Bloomers. Did we call it bloomers? Did we call them bloomers? Jason, you going to weigh in on the?
Is this the great
panty debate? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we all have words that are maybe make us, cringe a little bit. I have no problem with panties. Never had. Bloomers. Is this the cancel Mark episode I've joined? I'm not entirely sure.
Everyone is.
Bloomers is probably. I'd probably find that a little bit more old-fashioned than panties. You know what I mean? Knickers is what they say in Ireland.
Knickers. Yeah.
I noticed that, but I always thought that is that borrowed from the British or?
Well, I suppose there's a lot of Anglo-Irish words, or Anglophone words here, but there is differences. Like, for example, we say pants for like trousers, but in the US, pants are I think are like underwear.
In the UK they are, but in Canada and US,
wear a pair of trousers or wear a pair of pants is the same kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting around the world. There's different. Things, There's an Irish name. There's an Irish name called Siobhan. I don't know if you've heard it. It's a girl's name.
It's Siobhan.
Siobhan. And I knew Siobhan, and I used to always say to her, "Siobhan, your knickers, your mother's coming."
No, the best thing
I throw myself to the door. So
the best thing about confusion of words and everything was when I first started working at a bookstore here in the UK, and there wasn't much space behind the counter. for people to get by. And there was one girl that always thought it funny to lean on the counter and, lean forward, put her, back against the wall and basically lean, or leave a little bit of space that you got to try to shove through. So I politely said one time, you better stop that or somebody's going to slap your fanny. And all of a sudden, everything went quiet. And it's like, what's happening here? And then somebody whispered in my ear, and I go, really?
I think was this in the UK?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think we understand how you left Canada as well.
I used to crack up when I'd see movies and they would talk about getting their fanny pack, when they would walk out, and I used to just crack up at it. But linguistics and I suppose translation and it's amazing. I see with my own kids the amount of Americanisms that have become like increasingly popular here, and this, of course, is the huge influence of American media into the English-speaking world and beyond, I'm sure. But I hear people talking about taking out the trash, or I hear people saying about getting an elevator and stuff like that. You get the lift, you take the rubbish out.
I don't want to be lifted up. I want to be elevated.
You want to be elevated, yeah. Well,
What about the thing? You got like the English people say tomato, and it's like, but you don't say potato. I don't get it. What?
Potato.
But then it should be tomato.
Tomato. Well, let's just call the whole thing off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Spuds, that's what we call it. Spuds in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And poutine, if you make from it, you can have your aperitif as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know how to do that.
Yeah. My father used to keep greyhounds. He used to train greyhounds for people and stuff like that. Not coursing now, the racing, racing around the tracks after a fake hare. But we used to get poutine from a fella up the Cumra Mountains, he lived up the mountains outside Carrickshire where I grew up, and it was for rubbing into the dogs. It was good for their muscles, because it's always proof. But I remember slipping down to the shed, and it was in one of those, those Jeroboams with the two little handles on the neck of the glass. I'd open it up and sniffing, and then just taking them out for a wowzer. So, if you had sinus problems, forget about it. They were gone. You were clear-headed for days after it. It was probably like 80% proof or something like that, But it used to be a big thing here, poutine making and stuff like that. But hard liquor has always been the most licensed of alcohols, and same in America with moonshine and stuff. But I think very few people do now, or they do it commercially. They make stuff and call it poutine, but it's really just flavored gin, because gin is the byproduct of whiskey production. So in Ireland now, there's a huge growth in whiskey distilleries. Yeah, but we get loads of specialist gins in the shops, and that's how they make their income before the whiskey is aged a couple of years, So yeah.
Yeah, we have local hooch and stuff here as well, but it's quite it's more accepted, I guess. We have pretty much every town has like a little distillery where you can take your fruit, whether you take your plums for Slivovica or apricots from Morinkovic or something like this, and they do it for you, and then when it's ready you just go and pick it up. So it's kind of cool, really.
Different kind of schnapps, I suppose, is it?
Yeah, it's like the plum. You've probably seen the clear plum schnapps thing they have maybe in Germany, like Kirschwasser or something, if you've seen that, or cherry water, that kind of thing. So it's clear, but they come in different flavors. They do everything. They do almonds, so they do like Mandlowitzer. They do, well, basically, if it's a fruit and they can distill it, they'll do it. So,
So you guys are doing some interesting stuff on BookTube recently. I've been watching from the sidelines. I haven't been too active in the last few weeks just because of life and holidays and everything else. I did put up a video today, finally, after a while. But I'm really liking some of the kind of series you're doing on the silent movies, on the old OTR, the old time radio. The ones about, what's the name of it? About the book and another thing. Is it? I can't think of the series now. I'm showing myself up. About an author a book, you retell an anecdote or story about it, like beyond the book.
Mark.
Oh, me, yeah. Yeah.
Great little series. I love them. You know,
thank you.
All kinds of bookish talk. So yeah, my subscription feed has been flooded by you two guys in the last while, and more. That's what I say. The thing about more content is there's just more choice. You know, I think, being honest, none of us can watch every. You know, I subscribe to lots of people.
Yeah.
I can't possibly watch every video. I just don't have time. So you do have to be kind of selective. I think personal preference comes into it. Sometimes you you have an affinity to someone. They're the same kind of reader. You know, it's not always opposite attracts in the book world. You tend to gravitate towards maybe people who think the same. But I'm really impressed by the breadth of content that's on BookTube now. And there's lots of new people. I'll see some of them in the comments here. There's lots of new people coming along. And it's all interesting takes. It's interesting stuff. It's just finding the time to watch everyone. But I do try to give new channels a chance. I try to watch over a couple of months, watch a few videos and just see them come on and find their feet. And then you get a sense of the kind of style of content they're doing. And I love hearing book talk, even about books I'm never going to read, because it's interesting. I'll find something interesting about it, you know. And like Sean, and maybe like yourself, I'm around the block a couple of times now, so I've a lot of reading under my belt. So a lot of what's new to people who are just starting out on their reading life, or maybe changing direction, it's stuff I've read a long time ago. But it's refreshing to see new voices talk about it, because my memory of it, and maybe I was young when I read it. I'm not ancient, but I was a younger person when I read it, and my attitude to the book could be different now, which is why rereading to me is a huge part of what I do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you're saying, that when you see people, like for silent films, that as you know, I'm really into silent films, classic film. I love it when I hear somebody else, like somebody in their 20s, you know, discover a silent film or something like that, and talk about it. It recaptures sort of my feeling a lot of time at when I first did too. So it's really fun to watch that, or your favorite books. You know, they're discovering this stuff, and it brings back the memory.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask though, I can be a little bit touchy. So if there's a book that I particularly love, and somebody trashes it, do you get like emotional about it? Sometimes you think, oh, that's it, I'm not watching them for a while, you know.
I don't really. I maybe it depends on the circumstances. I can detach criticism of a book or an object from taking it as a personal attack on my own feelings. I think some people really struggle with that in any kind of context. But no, I mean, there's books I like that I'm sure people hate. I read a lot of weird specialist stuff and the occult and stuff like that. They're just not for everyone's cup of tea. And consequently, I don't share them a huge amount, because it would be such a narrow bunch of people who'd be interested. But I mean, I think my take, if I heard someone, for example, say Foucault's Pendulum is just terrible, a book I deeply, deeply love and care about, I would probably start from the point of view, if I took not offense at it, but I'd be kind of thinking I'd want to explain to them why it's so good, that they're missing the point, they're missing the context or something. And I could be defensive like that. Yeah, I think I could. Yeah.
I'm sure most people watching are probably already subscribed to you, Jason, but you have released a video today, haven't you? About my problem is I've had a couple of channels, and I've closed them down over years, you know. But I'm going to I done this read along of Foucault's Pendulum, which went really well, and the videos were well received by people who wanted to read it. And I thought, because it's a subject I know a bit about, I done my thesis in university on the book, you know what I mean? So I felt I had something to add or could share some stuff, and it was really good. But it got me thinking, Eco only has 7 novels. He's dead, he's not going to write anymore. So next year, 2023, I'm going to do a read through of the 7 novels over a long period of time. And I plan to do a lot of kind of videos around it, talking about the themes he's exploring, talking about metafiction, semiotics, translation,
that kind of stuff that should appeal to a kind of a broader base. So I expect very few people to come on board and read all 7 books, because that's a big ask. But I think as a project to record, and in my own mind, come up with a kind of a kind of origin, genesis, and evolution of Eco as a novelist, I think will be interesting for me to do, to look at the entire corpus of his works and put some videos out and see if I come to any kind of conclusions from it. So it's kind of where I'm going with my booktube stuff. I see MJ there in the comments. What a great booktuber she is! Absolutely, yeah. The woman's a powerhouse. She's going to join in for the Name of the Rose, I think. But I'm looking forward to delving into some more thematic stuff on my channel. And I kind of done the tags, but I've done lots of tags, and they can start to get a bit samey. There's a bit of fatigue comes in as a creator. And I really appreciate when people tag me, but and people go to the trouble of creating, like you did, Mark, when you first appeared on the scene. I remember I think it was Mark Richardson messaged me, or Steve, and said, "Hey, check out this guy. He's doing some really interesting videos." And of course, your delivery is polished anyway, so it made it really, really good. But I think I was saying to Sean earlier, actually, on a chat, I think I'll move into doing some more thematic kind of videos, tackle a few bigger projects, and then sprinkle in smaller book reviews and my usual hauls. If I haul a bunch of interesting books, I like nothing more than to jump on. I'm not a scripted guy. I'm quite extemporaneous. I don't use notes. I don't kind of plan things out. It just kind of organically happens. Look, some people like that, some people don't. We're not going to please everyone.
I think it's a good direction to go in, actually. I mean, do what you enjoy doing. I mean, I'm not particularly scripted, only when I do something like you mentioned, the Beyond the Book, because my memory doesn't last long enough with the new facts that I've got. So yeah, for something like that, I would. But I mean, I'm really interested in the Echo read along. Yeah. I've only read The Name of the Rose. And I was thinking that if anyone's hesitant about it, this is a perfect opportunity to do it with someone who's leading it, who is, absolutely. I guess it's like Tom, LA Books with
Dante.
Dante, exactly. So it would be a similar thing, I imagine. And I'm really gonna give it a shot. I don't even mind rereading Name of the Rose. I only read it last year, so I'm quite happy to read it again. So.
Yeah, I'll pace it quite slowly, and like that. The thing about even The Name of the Rose, before I even embark on reading it, I'll do a video setting the historical context, because that's kind of important to the plot that's going on, and talking about the life in an abbey at the time, and talking about the tensions that were there in the church at the time, and that's not giving away any plot spoilers. But it will help with the Sean, stop it. It will help with the enjoyment, I think, of the book in advance, So just stuff like that. And to me, the best of booktube is when people are passionate about what they talk about. The level of knowledge they have isn't a critical factor, because lots of people like myself are enthusiastic amateurs about lots of stuff. But I think the authenticity comes across when you hear people talk about something they enjoy. When I hear Sean talk about silent movies, I'm in the company of an expert. It's undoubted. You know what I mean? And even with his COVID fog and long COVID, I know I'm getting
my head just growing.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, lean back from the camera, you'll be all right. But you're getting a kind of a ringside seat into someone who spent way more time than I have on a subject, and that's invaluable. And you're just sitting on your computer and sticking it on, and I'll often be doing other things, listening to booktube.
I agree. Yeah, I feel I can only really do something like that myself with 3 Men in a Boat, which isn't exactly the highest level.
Yeah, well, great book. Yeah. It's a very, very funny book.
I know.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But no,
the more I get to know you, the more I can see why it would appeal to your personality. Yeah.
Oh, a few people are interested. Mike is interested in doing it. A few others already mentioned it. I think Gerald mentioned it as well. So that's good.
Micah now, there's a new channel I haven't really, a couple of people have said to me I should check out Micah. So I will, Micah, after this, I will check out your channel and have a look at a few videos and stuff like that.
You text
Ryan was on with you guys. I watched that entire thing last night, your 14-hour three-way conversation. I was up to like 2 a.m. I didn't catch it live, but I couldn't turn it off. It was great stuff. And I saw Book Time with Ryan. I jumped on and subscribed to him. You know, at the end of the day, there's lots of talk about community and stuff like that, but we have to give each other a fair shake at the tail. And you try it out, and not everyone is going to be to everyone's taste. And you know what? That's okay. There's no harm, no foul. You try something, you don't like it, you move on to the kind of next thing. But, you know, if you don't taste everything on the menu, you're never going to know what your favorite course is.
Very wise. Very wise indeed.
Yeah, well, it's the thing.
Why can't you say stuff like this, Sean? Jesus.
Sorry?
Why can't you say wise things like this?
But it's like, you know, there's some people that have that love the science fiction stuff that I've started doing, and there's others that can't stand it. So it's like, you know, but I have so many wide interests, and it's a thing to do. Maybe, well, for me, it makes more sense to do a variety of things rather than one thing. But what I was going to say about eco was, you texted me back the perfect name for it.
What's this?
The echo chamber.
Oh yeah, echo chamber or eco chamber, yeah. And again, we're already into trouble because I say Umberto Eco, and sometimes I say Umberto Eco. It's like Borges and Borges. For years, I said Borges, and then BookTube come along and everyone's saying Borges, but I hadn't spoken to anyone pronouncing it as Borges. So now sometimes I say, oh yeah, I must read some Borges, and I'm going, surely I mean Borges. So pronunciation is one of those weird things on YouTube.
Well, how did he pronounce it? Like, how did Umberto pronounce his surname?
Probably Echo.
I think Echo. Okay. The E would be like Ecce. The E would be kind of hard in Italian, I think. I could stand corrected now, so haven't heard him say his own name, but I have heard him introduced on multiple interviews, for example, on YouTube as Eco and Echo, and he never seems to point out. I always get this when I talk about Aleister Crowley. And Alan of Big Hard Books and Classics will pull me up if I'm wrong, because I sometimes say Aleister Crowley, which is how we would say it, Crowley in Ireland. But Aleister Crowley famously proclaimed it's Crowley as in holy, not Crowley as in Fowley. You know, correcting people to do his name. But I'll still say Aleister Crowley, because that's what I've said all the time.
It's funny. I always said Aleister Crowley as well.
Yeah, that's what I did too. But
it's Crowley as in holy, not Crowley.
Well, it's simple names too. Like at the risk of all of a sudden all the viewers running away.
Here we go again. Yeah.
It's so many times you get CMAC or CIMAC. It's CIMAC, you know, and that's how he pronounced it. That was his name, you know, but you see all this variety of stuff for names, you know.
But this case points, I don't believe I've ever read maybe maybe two CIMACs, and they were mashups, so they weren't great. Do you know what I mean? My mashups, they were kind of a bunch of short stories, I think, kind of clubbed together to make a.
He's only done one like that, City.
Well, I think that's the one I read, because it struck me as very disjointed.
Oh my God, I'm so offended.
I do, but I do.
For your own protection, Jason, I'm just going to move you away in case.
I do need to read more, and I've had some great finds because of BookTube. Some great series, some great suggestions. I just recently started reading Philip Kerr. The Berlin War series. You know the Berlin War?
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm on the third one, the first kind of three in the series, and I'm a bit of a fan in my fiction of the anti-hero. So he reminds me of Joe Nesbo's Harry Hole kind of character, who coincidentally my wife thinks is the literary character that I am most like in real life. So take that as as you will. It's not quite a compliment, but rough and ready, I think, is the way she would put it. But yeah, I'm enjoying those stuff, and that was because I saw someone on a video mention they were going to read some Philip Kerr, and I went out. I know the name. I've never read any. Got my Kindle out. I looked it up and got like the trilogy for 99 pence or something, and really enjoyed it. So I'll keep reading them over a period of time, you know. But yeah, there's some good stuff. But I'm in good company here because I read a lot of older stuff. You know, I'm not up to date on the modern kind of literary, what you call, you know.
Be careful.
What's what I'm looking for? Yeah, I'm not up to date on a lot of the modern canonical works of literature, and I tend to read a lot of older material, and indeed revisit a lot of older material.
Now, can those two words go together, modern and canonical?
No, I'm full of paradoxes and oxymorons. You know, I'm here all week. Try to steak. It's fantastic. But yeah, well, I suppose you can. The modern canon has been developed before our very eyes. So let's see how that shakes out.
Yeah, I've heard of this one, Alexis. To say
Funny
nothing
world,
of the dog. Yeah, I believe it's kind of sci-fi, isn't it? Or sci-fi. What's better for you, Sean?
Do we have 4 hours?
But it's funny. SF, yeah, sorry, that's it. Yeah.
SFF, sci-fi fantasy.
Sci-fi fantasy. But actually, living here has given me a whole new appreciation of how you pronounce like a lot of the European style, because I think they're quite unified. A lot of Europe, I think, when it comes to the how you pronounce E and how you pronounce I. Like I's are E's and E's are es, you know. So that's why I would go for echo. Like Czech is one of these languages. It's phonetic. So once you learn how to say it, you can write it.
Say what you see.
You basically say what you see. So you do. It's a very odd scenario if you have to turn around to someone and say, how do you spell something? Because if you hear it, you can write it generally. The only thing they have a small problem with sometimes is I and Y, because it can be the same sound in Czech. But otherwise, yeah, it's interesting. And they don't have any double letters, so you don't get
E's or double O's or anything like that.
Instead, they have the accent that they can elongate it without having to put two of them in there. But
like I remember when it used to be Czechoslovakia. Okay, but I remember getting some books by a mathematician who was from Czechoslovakia, and he was Czechoslovakian, and they needed some vowels in his surname. It was like this long, and there weren't enough vowels to even start to pronounce it. It's sort of like Welsh, you know, Welsh names.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, driving through Wales is always fun. I used to go to the UK a lot for business, just in the book world, and I'd get the ferry over to Pembroke from Wexford. But driving through rural Wales, where the village names and everything are in Welsh, much as like they are in Ireland, they tend to be in English and Irish, you know. So you get the dual language. But in some parts of Wales, it's just Welsh, and I've never seen so many consonants strung together in one word. It's fantastic. But I love the Welsh lilt. I love listening to the Welsh language. I can't understand any of it, but there's a certain. It's quite like Irish. There's a kind of a musicality to the language, a playfulness to the language, which is kind of has a musical note, unlike some more European languages, maybe including Czech, which is a little bit more staccato, a little bit not clipped, but can sound a little more harsh or guttural. God,
it depends. It depends. Czech generally of the Slavonic languages isn't, I think, too harsh. It's not like Russian, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, there are strong relationships between all the Slavonic languages, but Czech, I would say it's probably on the sing-songier side of Slavonic languages. And
Yeah.
certainly within the country, there are differences. So where I live in Eastern Bohemia, they are laughed at by the rest of the country for being quite sing-songy in the way they speak.
Okay, right. Yeah.
If you go across to the east, you go to Brno, Moravia, they are very much to the point, short bursts of conversation. But I was just thinking how funny it is. We're talking about Wales, and we have a Welshman come into the chat. So we have to be very
careful. Thing, at risk of, I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but I'd been told this play is Clonelly or something like that, and then yeah, and then when I saw it printed out, and they said that's, and I go, I thought they were joking. Like, how do you get, like I couldn't get my head around two L's sounding like a C,
And it's like in the Irish, then we would use the same exaggeration at the start. We would say like Clenany, you know what I mean? We would give it a bit of guttural, But I see someone there mention Thomas Pynchon.
Yeah,
we consider Thomas Pynchon part of the modern canon, Quinton F. He's definitely in the stable of great modern American writers. It's been a few years since I've read Pynchon. I did kind of knock through two or three of his books in fairly rapid order and was suitably impressed. I thought there was good stuff in there. I'm woefully underread in two areas of world literature that I'm badly underread in. One is modern American literature. So the Fords and the Pynchons and the Gore Vidals and that kind of stuff, it just never really floated my boat. But I can see that a lot of people really dig it. And the other is the Russians. I'm woefully underread in the classical Russians.
Yeah.
I can't even think of the names of the other ones, but you know what I'm saying? It's something they've never really worked for me. I remember War and Peace is one of my Everest books. I've tried it so many times and abandoned it. Same for Anna Karenina. I've tried that book a few times and I've just kind of gone, Jason, you are mortal. Life is going to end possibly at any moment. So I'll just put that book aside and come back to it at another time. But I haven't read a lot of American, what would be considered by a lot of people some of the great American authors, and that's probably something I should remedy. So if anyone wants to start with Pynchon or something like that, that might be a worthwhile project to read a few books.
Sorry, Sean, go for it.
Yeah, I think I should try that modern literary canon. I think, in light of the book tag, modern literary canon tag, and it should be a companion to Damn, I'm Old tag.
Yeah,
companion to that one.
Yeah.
So Erasmus on it and stuff like that,
Did you try
Bulldog? Are we going to go with the classic modern and take it from modernism, from like turn of the 20th century, or?
Well, no. Like I guess you haven't seen my Damn, I'm Old tag, and it asks things. Have you ever been to like a book club or something like that? And so I set myself up as being sort of old in the early 1500s, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
Have you tried Bulgakov yet, Jason? The Master and Margarita.
Oh well, there's a Russian book I really enjoyed. Of course, I'm going to talk. Pat and the Devil has my vote.
What about?
I was so surprised. I read it just last July. I read it with Sonia. I don't know if she's still on the chat. We took 3 chapters a day, and it went smoothly. I mean, at first we were both like, "What on earth is this? It's incredibly weird." But I couldn't dislike it, and then I actually ended up enjoying it, and I felt really pleased that I did it.
It's quite an incisive book as well. If you want to really read deep into it, it's quite a satirical commentary on, the state of the world when he was writing at that time. Of course, it was banned in Russia initially, you know. I have read, I've read the Gulag Archipelago.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say the author's name. I can never say Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
And you know, being an old lefty, I really liked that stuff when I was younger. The kind of systemic abuses. I believe he has come in from some criticism for some of what he wrote from historians and such like. But I think it's an important kind of work, certainly, and that would probably, in my guesstimation, feature in a modern canon, maybe, if it's not.
Well, University of Notre Dame is I hope they do the whole thing. His what's it called? I forget what it's called, but it's a novel of the Russian Revolution, and it's probably going to fill up a whole shelf of books. Like, wow. It's massive. And some of it has never been translated into English, apparently. And I would love to read that. I've read some of the books, but I've never read it all the way through.
It's amazing. I have some good friends in South America, various parts of South America, and the amount of literature they tell me about that's even older, not modern stuff, and not just Borges, that's there, that remains untranslated, is just, it blows my mind that I can't read it. And these are readers I know a long time. And they'd be saying, you did this, if there was ever a Jason book, this is a Jason book. And I go, yeah, but I'm not going to learn Portuguese overnight or, you know, Spanish overnight to read it. So there's a lot in the English world. I think I have fallen victim to becoming someone who, for a long time, and maybe to some extent still does, prescribe the literary world to the English-speaking world. And written in English, with the obvious exception of notable famous works that are translated, that some people even just presume now were written in English. They don't even really recognize the fact that they're works in translation. But I have one of the awakenings I had on BookTube was that we're just speaking on BookTube or YouTube in general in English, but there's whole parts of BookTube speaking in a multitude of languages, about a multitude of books. And the greedy reader in me, because I'm a greedy reader, I love reading. I literally would read the back of a biscuit packet if I had nothing else to read. You know, I kind of think, oh, what am I missing out on? There's got to be great stuff in the areas I'm interested in. You know, in specific subjects I'm interested in reading. So I'd say to myself, oh, Jason, you're pretty well read in this stuff. And then I realized, I'm not well read at all, because there's whole sections of knowledge and literature that I'm just not privy to and never will be in my lifetime, which is kind of sad. But but it made me snap out of this idea of being a well-read person, which I had the audacity probably in my late 30s, early 40s to think I was starting to become after 25 years of solid reading kind of every day, you know. And really, as I get older, I realize how little I've read and how little time is left. And that makes Jason sad.
Well, it makes us all sad. I think about that all the time. You know, so many books and not enough time.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Sorry, go on, Sean.
No, I was just going to say but that brings me to think, because I did a reread thing, and I've had some interesting comments of people. Like, I do say that you know, when you reread a lot of stuff, you're missing out on something new. And it's weird that, like, what happened, the events that I had in 2021 at the beginning of the year, it all of a sudden, when I started reading again, I wanted to do rereading. And I know that things are finite, but I at the moment I'm reading like 80 or 90% of rereads. And it's really straight, but I'm happy with that. But yes, I'm not getting to the other stuff. But you'd think, if you know, I should, from those events, want to read the new stuff, but it's not. I haven't got an answer to why.
Well, we'll come back to that in a second. I want to, because the chat's on quite a lot. I've got away from me here. No, it's all right. But we got Durdula. I don't know. They Irish or Welsh or Czech? I don't know that name at all. The composer. What have we got here?
Dr.
Peter.
Dre, isn't it? Was that not Dr. Dre?
Dr. Dre? No, Dr. La.
Doesn't look like the lady.
So Peter, he's at 72 subscribed. Well, that's up from yesterday, Peter. That's great.
Well, there's someone new to me, so you'll be 73 after this, Peter. I'll come along and have a sniffy around your channel.
Yeah, I went to subscribe. I bet a lot of people did after yesterday.
Yeah.
No,
Peter,
I'm
the
not
book
sure what
cover.
that's Amy.
That one.
Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky, supposed to be the greatest novel ever written. Well, I'm not sure. We'll find out. I have to read it first, I guess. The Gulag was a book, I guess, that has really stayed with me.
Yeah, very powerful book. Yeah.
Did you? And you read the whole thing, Jason?
Yeah, I read the entire Unabridged. Yeah,
I have. Yeah, I have as well. I want to read it again, actually.
Cat Dancer's the creator of the modern canon tag. So I'm guessing, is she or not? But it doesn't matter. She says it's divided into 3 parts.
Yeah, okay. I'll have a look it up and see. It sounds like it might be an interesting.
And says I tag you all. So
yeah, but I do warn, if I do it, it's going to have a twist to it.
Will I be able to go back into this chat when the video is up and see these? Okay, because I'll need to remember.
As long as I click on them, you'll be able to see them. Any fans of Tale of Two Cities? Yes. I like it.
I'm a fan of Dickens.
Yeah,
I like a bit of Dickens. Yeah,
I mean, Dickens was a great. There was a comment on your video last night about someone compared Victor Hugo. You were reading it from the introduction to Yes, and someone said Victor Hugo is like Dickens and
Carlyle and Tennyson.
Carlyle. Yeah, I mean, Dickens was just a great social observation writer, and he covers everything in that. He covers class, he covers social struggle, he covers politics, he covers urban versus rural. I mean, everything that Hugo was kind of fated for. It's a direct comparison. It doesn't have to be Victor Hugo with Dickens. Plus, Dickens and Hugo, to my mind, are very similar, but he's become a little bit of a caricature of himself, Charles Dickens, and come in for what I think is some very, I don't want to open a can of worms here, but some very unfair criticism as well, because of maybe his personal life or he treated people in his personal life. The danger with that stuff is that can of worms is bottomless. It serves no one really any good. You read the book and either enjoy it or don't. And you know what? If you don't like the person who wrote it, just I know it's simple, but just don't read the book.
We hold these people up.
Great Dickens,
Well, the thing is, I was looking at stuff hated writers, and it came up and like Mary Shelley is a hated writer, and the reason for this is the reason that they said was that we shouldn't read her is because she had sex on her mother's grave, and it's like, did she? And that's the question, because the thing, she met her lover, and a lot of people met in cemeteries because they could go there unchaperoned.
Yeah, these stories grow legs as well and become apocryphal. I mean, Mary Shelley has written one of the greatest books I've ever read. Frankenstein is a book. This is the thing about rereading. No, but the thing about rereading is rereading, especially if you leave a gap of years as you get older between reads, it is a new experience because you're bringing the context of having read it before and got some insight into it, and maybe it's lived in your mind for it. But then you've read other books. You've read other similar books. You've read maybe some literary criticism. You've read maybe a biography or two of Mary Shelley. You've read some of her other works. And then you go back to Frankenstein and you find, or insert name of book here that you're rereading, but you find a new appreciation for what it's done. And I don't know about you, Sean, but it can be just as thrilling the second or even third or even fourth time around to read a really well-written book.
I have to say, I'm reading it next month. I'm reading it next month. It's obviously a delay. Okay, ladies first.
Yeah. You done a video on it?
Yes, yeah, I did a video on rereading. Why reread or something like that. Yeah, and that is exactly what I said. Sorry.
That must be a new video, is it?
Yeah. Did it go up? Did it go up today?
Well, I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. And you're reading it next month, Mark?
Next month, Frankenstein for the first time. So I'm really looking forward to it. I bought the Klinger annotated version, and I'm reading it with Vin from Revenant Reads and Greg.
Oh, Vin's a great guy. Yeah. I really like Vin's channel. He's a great reader. I love his take on books. I wish I had thought of Fresh Red Kills. That's such a great tagline.
Perfect, isn't it?
Yeah. He just occasionally appears like with an axe and stuff, and that's my kind of guy. You know?
Well, he's really into all that, making knives and his Vikings and all that. We read a great Viking book together. We've been doing this Gothic history project where Gothic literature, yeah. So it's been interesting.
You read The Children of Ashenel?
Yes, that's right. We read that as well.
There we go. I just read it there recently. Neil Price's book.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. I prefaced it by rereading Gwyn Jones' History of the Vikings, which is a really solid, John would know this, a really solid history of the Vikings, more academic maybe in tone than this, but I thought this was really terrific. And Neil Price has written a great book called The Viking Mind, which actually looks at the religious, esoteric kind of beliefs they had, which is fascinating. And he worked actually, I think, as a consultant on The Northman, that movie that was out recently. Yeah. And he advised them on some of that kind of, frankly, bizarre kind of rituals and stuff that they have, and the role that women and men played, particularly in their occult, esoteric, religious sphere, which is supremely interesting. But there's been some good books on the Vikings out recently. I probably thanks to Ragnar Lothbrok and
I've got that. Is it Cat Yarman? K Yarman? Cat?
I have it on my Kindle. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I bought it 99p.
Yeah. 99p.
Jason, you've got
stick on the front there. Yeah.
Jason, you've got it's an Oxbow book on sort of the material culture. It's a big black one. Yeah. You have,
Oh, on the Vikings.
Yeah.
I have a ton of stuff on the Vikings. So I'm a coin guy as well. I deal in coins and kind of collect coins. So early hammered is one of the areas I focus on. Again, I'm all about the old stuff. So you have the Hiberno Norse coins from when the Vikings were based in Dublin. There's a whole series of coins that were done that started out as imitation of English coins, then became their own thing, and then became what are classified as Hiberno Norse coins. So for me, the fact I can access the material culture of the Vikings is really incredible, and I love learning a lot about them. But one of these days I'll let the beard grow out fully like Sean's, and I'm going to get some Viking beads put in it because. And then head tattoos. It's
well, I always say to Sean, he needs to braid his beard or something.
Braid it, and then a couple of head tattoos. I'm self-employed. It doesn't matter if I have head tattoos or not. I'll just do it.
So I just want to say that's great news, Ryan. He's because we were talking about his slow channel growth. He's been doing it a while and just doesn't grow up. But
I was one of the new subscribers from when I watched the chat last night, Book Time with Ryan. So yeah, I subscribed to you last night.
Yeah, it was, and he says he hasn't reread, but feels like he could be missing out. And but Ryan, if you're still there, you haven't reread even Moby Dick, which I think is like one of your favorite books, isn't it? I don't know, might be wrong. You once shouted out channels that never grow in Noah's live streams. Sorry, Quentin, I'm not sure what you mean there. Maybe I missed. Maybe you're talking to somebody else there in the chat. So congratulations. Just sub to you, Peter. There we go. That's nice. There's loads of them, actually. I've been really neglecting it. I do apologize.
Yeah, flick through the thing. Myself and Sean will talk amongst ourselves. So
yeah, that's right.
I mean, I'm getting kind of weird expat vibes off of thought it was hilarious last night when you were skating on very thin ice on taboo subjects, let it be said. And given recent events in our booktube community, I thought, oh no, please, let's. Well, we need one purge a year. We've had it, so let's move on. And
I have no idea what you're talking about, Jason.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I get a free pass. COVID brain.
Oh, COVID brain. Yeah.
I get a free pass.
Phil,
I was on holidays, and let's just say there wasn't enough popcorn in the house to keep it going. You know.
Philip, I just want to say something to you. I was expecting your first booktube video on Saturday, and I didn't see it come up. Philip was going to launch his channel.
I know Philip from the comments from a long time, and you're on Instagram as well, Philip. I know you have an interest in some of the books I kind of like reading too, and I would love to see a booktube channel from you. And I think the advice I would give anyone starting a booktube channel or starting out, and you're talking to someone who's had a couple. I mean, my biggest channel had just shy of 3,000 subscribers when I closed it down. You know, is really the time to start is now, and don't overcomplicate it. Just get used to talking in front of the camera. I think viewers, particularly in booktube, are quite forgiving at the start. They don't expect anyone to appear with the polished, you know, with the fully polished product, and I think you won't know yourself what you like doing until you do it and try a few different things, you know. But I, for one, would love to see the Mr. Bad Seed himself, Philip, on booktube. I think he'd bring some cool stuff to the mix, you know.
I think it's funny, the caveat there that the viewers are very kind at the beginning.
Yeah, well, like I say, if you're just not for everyone, you're not for everyone. You know, that's the thing. I think if you try and pitch your video, you know, if you throw the net too wide, you're going to get a lot of small fry.
Yeah.
But if you cast out a good lure, you'll land a few big fish, and you'll get some loyal. I was going to say customers, but you'll get some loyal. They're not followers, they're viewers. I know it's trite. Some do indeed become friends. I became friends with Sean Standfast through booktube. You know, like we have spoken offline. We've shared things with each other. We're not like best buddies. I don't speak to him every day of the week because, frankly, that would be too much. But I do consider him a friend in that if in the real life Sean reached out and said, "Hey, I want to do this," or "Hey, I'd like to do that," I'd be there. You know,
you're here now. This is actually proof of it, of your friendship.
but they do become real with people you haven't met, and likewise, there's people I've met through comments, and we back and forth. I'm not trying to make out it's some like long conversations where we get into the weeds, but you get a little kick when you see a familiar face pop up in the comments and go, "Oh, hey, Jason, haven't seen you in a while. Great video," or "That was interesting," or "Just nice to see you," or "I'll check that book out," or something. Like, I'd be lying if I said you didn't get a little kind of kick out of that stuff. But my advice is always just turn on the camera and start talking. Because if you can't do that, you can't do booktube. You know, whether it's scripted or whether you're like myself or Sean, maybe, where it's extemporaneous, where, you know, you're just speaking off the top of your head. You have to overcome that. Like, I'm sitting in a room empty at the moment. With my kids told to stay out because I'm on a live stream. They could well walk in at any time, but I'm talking to a screen. But I'm really talking to everyone, you know. And
well,
that's cool.
When I started, I think this was something that some people may have similar. I don't know, but I sort of sat in front of my thing and just sort of talked without turning the camera on, and I felt so self-conscious.
Yeah,
I hit the camera, boom, I was off running. Like it was immediately, but without the camera on, I was so stilted. But then once I hit the camera, it was fine. So some people may do that and say in front of the mirror or something. That's sort of what I thought this was. Like, it was like in front of the mirror, and it didn't work. But then as soon as you actually turn it on and get the camera going, it changed everything.
Yeah, well, I started. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
No, well, I started out podcasting in the first COVID wave because I didn't really want to show myself on YouTube. I was nervous. I'm an overweight man.
Hiding all this goodness.
Well, yeah, but I'm an overweight man, of course, and I imagined at first, I'll probably get some nasty comments because I knew what other things like, I don't know, Reddit or things like this could be like, and I thought, oh, it would be horrible. I'm going to regret it. But then I said to myself, don't worry too much about it. But I started, because of COVID, I started doing a lot of online lessons, and I started making YouTube videos for my students on a private channel kind of thing. Yeah. And then I thought, well, this is silly. I mean, I enjoy the podcasting, but this looks good. I'm going to give it a go. And I really don't regret it for a second. There have been obviously days where things haven't gone great, but it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. Well worth doing.
I remember I came across BookTube. Steve Donoghue, I think, was the first person I saw on BookTube. And I watched him for a while, and then I branched out to kind of other people from his. I realized that people in the comments were making BookTube videos as well, But I remember watching, thinking, if that's what it is to talk about books and make a BookTube video, surely I can do that. It's what I'd do if I was sitting with friends. This is exactly how I would talk about books. These are the conversations I live for. And I am lucky that I do have bookish people in my life that I can sit and have these conversations. But often I think if I do anything intentional in my videos, it's exactly the same as if you were sitting in the room listening to the conversation. Okay, you don't get to interject in real time, but I talk. I don't try to talk up or down or around. I try to address it how I feel as directly as I can, as if I was talking to friends. And I know that's trite, and you can go down the arguments. What are friends? Who are all these people? Who's real? What's real? It doesn't matter. It's what your intention is at the end of the day, But the first time I made a video, I think I watched it about, I without exaggeration, being honest, I must have watched it 10 times before I hit post. I had it on my laptop, on a laptop. And I watched them going, oh, you're saying a lot and you say a lot. But you know what? In real life, that's what I do. That's how I speak. I'm not going to present some kind of uber polished version of myself that doesn't have the pauses, doesn't have the ums and ahs, doesn't have the digressions, which I think sometimes in my videos, that's where some of the more interesting things I think about come up, because I'm a connections guy. And while I'm talking, I'm making those. Every book I ever read is feeding into that kind of thought process. And for me, that's what works. So I just thought to myself, I made the decision, I'm not going to edit it. I'm not going to edit my voice and cut out all the little things. If that annoys people, it's very easy. You just don't have to. Yeah. You just don't have to watch, because if you come to my house, that's what you're going to get. So if I'm going to try to give you as an authentic version of me speaking about books as possible, you're going to get the ums and the ahs. You're going to get the occasional misspeaking where I'll say the wrong title of a book paired with an author or something. And, I make no apologies for that. Man, that's what I do in real life. It happens all the time. If it's too good to be true, it generally is. So, yeah.
I think there's an element as well of the whole trial and error too. I mean, I started off with, like a little intro piece and then, with the outro piece and all this. Now I just go straight into it, and I don't edit. Like, if I make a mistake, I generally just talk on. Unless I do it at the very beginning, I'll start again. Yeah. But, something else I was going to say there. It's contagious, this mind fog from Sean. No, it's gone. There we go. Sorry.
Well, there you go. You're getting there. Yeah.
Just let it go. But I do like Yossi's comment there. Men who read are hot. That's nice.
Yeah, I'm sweating all the time.
Yeah. I have had it. When I was a younger man, I've had people come up to me because I was reading, and they were interested in what I was reading, but they were also using it as a kind of a gateway to say hi. So this is back when I had like thick black hair and was all muscular, and ruggedly handsome and that kind of stuff. Now I'm just a creepy old guy with a book. It's like, wow, that's scary. But
they write
yeah,
the phone in your book.
I'm going to put out there. I'm going to be completely PC and say that I think everyone who reads is hot. I think it's just a shame there's not more of us. I do think sometimes we have a bit of a skewed view of the world when it comes to looking at broader problems, and I see that when it's discussed sometimes on BookTube, when broader themes are discussed. Someone who is very obviously a reader often has quite a nuanced view on stuff, you know, or maybe sometimes it's a blinkered view because we presume everyone else is a reader and is well read and stuff, but we really are a minority of any population. Are people who consistently read, and by consistently read, I mean if you read a couple of times a week, you're a reader, you know. And I don't care what you read. It can be Mills and Booms, it can be the latest John Grisham, you can be reading through the works of Ovid in Latin, you can be reading canonical, non-canonical. I really don't. I just love people to read. I could care less what they're reading because it's the activity is valuable, and it's the reading is a way of implicitly opening yourself up to other ideas. And that's something that helps you change and form your own ideas because you're inviting concepts and ideas that are alien to you into your kind of mind space. You know what I mean? So I think it's hugely valuable. But I do think sometimes we're maybe a little skewed in how we view the non-reading rest of the world who could care less about what we've learned from books or what life lessons or values we've picked up from reading books and all that kind of stuff. Oh, Phil is in hospital.
I thought you worked in a hospital when we were talking last time. I didn't realize you're a patient in the hospital.
It's literally a busman's holiday.
Yeah.
Well, get well soon, Phil, if you're not well.
That's terrible, yeah. Definitely get well, get better. Yeah. No, I mean, it's very, very true what you say there.
When I was working and in an office, I would get books sent there because I'm not at home. And sometimes if I ordered from a remainder house, I'd get a big box of books. And if I ordered a box of cocaine or something like that, I don't think I got, you wouldn't get any more talk about people, titter tatter, you know, books. You know, it's just, they were just so shocked that I was buying books.
Yeah.
I remembered what I was going to say that I forgot. Probably doesn't even matter now. But when I was reading aloud Jane Austen, I decided, you know, I'm going to fumble over words because it's not, of course, written in a familiar style. Yeah. And I just left it. And also I thought I'll just leave in my own opinions as well as I'm going because I'd never read it before. So instead of trying to mimic somebody reading an audiobook or something like this, I would just read it and then I'd be like, no, she didn't, you know, because it's exactly, yeah, but it's exactly how I felt, you know, when I was reading, because I didn't, you know, and I couldn't help but laugh at things like Mr. Collins and all this stuff. And I think that is the key. It's just be as natural as you can, you know, no theatrics and just.
Don't get me wrong. I can get as highfalutin as the next guy about reading. I mean, I'm talking today about like embarking on a kind of meta-narrative read of the fiction of Umberto Eco, and I'm going to look at pataphysics and semiotics and stuff like that. And you know, that's all well and good, but I do make the point in the video. You know, first and foremost, let's read them for pleasure. You know, we can chew the bone and really enjoy the bone. We don't always have to crack it open for the marrow inside. You know, on a surface read, most books are just, they're either good or they're not. But like, that's great. The spontaneity of reading something for the first time and being able to record your reaction to it. That's something I've never had. I've never kind of read something new and recorded myself doing it just to see how I would react, you know, which is kind of cool, actually. It's a cool idea. I like it.
I've said it before and I'll say it again as well. It's an interesting experience actually reading aloud to yourself because, you know, people go on about listening to the audiobook and reading along and this kind of thing. The problem with that for me is I'm reading faster, of course, than the person.
I have to let the cat out the door here. One second, keep talking. I can hear you. You can look at the books behind me.
I think You see, I've gone again. Maybe I need some of this MCT oil.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'll look it up. Thank you.
Oh, do you want to say hi, Noah? Come here, look. Here's my oldest. My oldest boy is 18 in a couple of weeks.
Hello there. Hi.
Everyone wish him happy 18th birthday.
Oh, today?
No, in 1st of September.
Oh, happy birthday for the first.
As I have reminded him, after that date, any love and affection I give him is completely discretionary. All my legal obligations. And he reminded me that in about 10 years, he's going to be deciding what care home I go into. So it is what it is. Hey, it is what it is. Yeah.
So he's taken his, I guess, Irish equivalent of A-levels, or he's taking them next year?
No, he's going in this year. He's doing his final, what you would call A-levels. They do 8 subjects for the Leaving Cert, and then university the year after. So he took an intermediate year, transition year, because of COVID. The school was closed. So they have a transition year here, which is optional. Before you go into like your final cycle, you can have a year where they do a lot of projects and work experience and stuff like that, you know, kind of life skills things really. So he opted to do that because during COVID there was no kind of online classes here, or no classes for a long time. And he is just turning 18, and I think 19 is a good age maybe next year to go to university, because if you start university you're young all the way through. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I think
you're young when you start, and then all the way through those 4 years, you're maybe just behind the curve. Not behind the curve, but you're kind of young through it. You know, life is long.
The problem is you don't know. I mean, when you just do a standard education, you don't really know what's available to study at university. You don't know what's out there. I mean, I went straight in and I pumped for German, European studies with German, because I wanted to do the language and I wanted to do a broad range of politics, literature, history, etc. And it was really interesting. But had I known, like, had I had a bit of life experience beforehand, you know, I was out in Japan teaching for a while, and I thought, yeah, this appeals to me. You know, I wish I'd gone and studied Japanese at university.
Yeah.
But I didn't know it was a possibility, you know, not really. So I think it's a shame how, you know, sometimes we do these things too early on in life.
Yeah, I do question really the model of education now up to what you might call A-level. I think in a world where everyone has one of these pretty much, and I'm speaking obviously in the West here, but where most of the kids have a phone that gives them access to all basically known information, if you know how to use it, that's been put on the internet, with the caveat not everything is yet on the internet. But the value of rote learning for years, information, and I know there has been tweaks to the education system in the UK and in Ireland when it comes to this stuff, but still primarily it relies on learning a lot of information and then regurgitating that in an exam situation. And I don't know if that's serving them best for the world they now live in, where information has become incredibly cheap and knowledge is really accessible to everyone. I think a better thing would be to learn how to use that kind of knowledge, more focus on that, critical thinking, critical reasoning, problem solving, that kind of thing, as a criminology would say, that kind of thing, you know. But yeah, I think Noah at university is probably doing, I think he's doing a biology/science undergrad, which is reasonably broad, and then once he gets to the second, third year, he can start to focus in on the couple of areas he's interested in, and of course see where there's any kind of career paths and stuff like that.
And where's he hoping to go?
Probably UL. We're well serviced here. We've got a very good, particularly for the sciences, a very highly rated university, which is like literally kind of 12-13 miles from here. He can get public transport in and out himself, or, you know, take the car if he's insured, if he can come up with insurance money to put himself on my car, because again, everything's at my discretion after he's 18. But he has that, and I think it's a really great university to do his undergrad, and then if he wants to do postgrad, masters or PhD or whatever, then target a university that's a natural fit for what he wants to do, and that can be further afield. You know, he'll be a bit older and be better suited to moving away. But with the cost of living crisis, you know, getting real here, I've 3 kids coming up for university in the next 10 years, We're lucky in Ireland; it's relatively cheap. We just have registration fees, which are about €3,500 per annum. Then books on top of that, and maybe some extra little things. But it's not the case yet where people have to borrow 50, 60,000 euros unless they're traveling and staying in accommodation during the week, which is horrendous now in Ireland. Huge shortage of accommodation and hugely expensive. So if you wanted to go to UCD in Dublin or down to Cork or something and wanted to stay in student accommodation or rented accommodation, you're factoring up the cost by a much bigger amount. So we're very lucky he can stay at home and still live with the bank of mom and dad funding him for the next few years and concentrate on his studies, and not maybe have to worry about having to take an extra shift to pay his rent and stuff, which I think is kind of unfair. I think it's it's kind of unfair on students that they are still students at university. They're not workmen and workwomen yet. They haven't developed a career. They haven't built up any significant savings of their own. So everything is borrowed. It's either borrowed from the parents or it's borrowed from the bank.
I hope he thinks about or considers Erasmus, though. I think that could be kind of nice.
I think Erasmus would be a great option. So yeah, that would be something we would be pushing. I think definitely spend some time overseas, and Erasmus is a very affordable option as well. To study on the continent, even for a year or for a couple of modules and something. So,
when I went to university, I thought it was expensive, and it was like $1,500 or $1,600 Canadian per year. And when I hear these kind of amounts, today, it's just I just don't get it. I don't know how people can do it or how parents can pay for their children. I had to work, but I got government grants and loans, but that was a lot of money. And so, but you just quadruple it now or 10 times almost. It's insane.
I was the first. Go ahead. Sorry,
I was the first year in England that had to pay tuition fees. So you can imagine my father's reaction. He's like, bloody typical. Literally, if I was born in 1979, I would have been fine. But 1980,
yeah,
it was $1,000. But to be fair, I mean, we were lucky. It wasn't much really when you think of what it was. It was £1,000 a year.
Yeah,
which for some people could be a lot, but it wasn't unreasonable. Not like now where it's just rocketing up to like 10,000 or maybe more. I don't know. It's just.
Well, I see people in the States, for example, they seem to rack up like enormous student loan debt, and it kind of follows them around for years. Then I'm not a big fan of debt in general. I like to be debt free.
Yeah,
17,000.
Yeah, dollars Canadian now for Ontario assistance program.
There's a channel, Idiot Reads and Rambles. I think that's a very good booktube channel.
It's Quinton. He swapped his name again. He comes in as Quinton.
Okay, well I didn't know you as Quinton, but
this is his channel.
I've seen Idiot Reads and Rambles. I think he's going off to school soon or something. Is he? Or to train to be a teacher, is it, or something like that? That's the impression I got, which is interesting.
What we got there? Oh, hang on. No, Philip's explaining. Worked in a GP surgery. Yeah, Busman's holiday, definitely.
Yeah. Well, get onto the old booktube soon enough, and MovieTube. I know he's interested in doing that too.
Yeah, it's amazing what's out there. Coast Guard cutter at first. Oh, sorry. They're talking in the chat about the 5-day war in Georgia because Jim lives over in Georgia,
Jim's books reading and stuff.
No? Yes, he's there. Yeah.
He's down the country, I think, for the summer, staying out of the heat. He's a very civilized person.
Oh, Peter, it's Jason Harrigan, this person in the middle.
Oh yeah, hi Peter. Jason Harrigan.
Or now it's Sean D. Standfast is the person in the middle. So yeah. Well, it's very exciting for him, though. I mean, it's such a wonderful experience going off to university if you get the chance. I think.
Yeah.
But it is a shame that it does set you up to some form of debt. You know, I foolishly took the, you know, government student loans because I was in, you know, because we were entitled to them, and I pretty much, I shouldn't say it on this in case my parents are watching, but you know.
Yeah.
And
the party started.
That's it. And of course, you know, I'm very lucky in some respects because I've kind of avoided having to pay it back. Not because I'm actually avoiding it, but because I've taken jobs where I didn't earn enough. And now I'm living in, you know, now I'm living in Czech Republic. You know, just doesn't it doesn't hit the British, it doesn't hit the British threshold, you know. So
people have asked me why I've left Canada.
If I smoke on your channel,
oh no, go for it.
People have asked me why I've left Canada. There's many reasons.
Sorry. Sorry, Sean. Many reasons. Legal reasons, probably.
Well, you just mentioned one of them as a possible reason.
What, you owe the Canadians 1,500 Canadian dollars for your university education? And
that's a lot more than that.
Oh, okay, right, okay. They might be watching. You don't know. Quinton might work for them. He might be like, that's it. We found him.
Yeah, I think Sean is a practitioner of geo arbitrage. Is that the term that's used, where he has relocated to another geographical area that's more favorable to his fiscal situation? Geo arbitrage. I think that's the one you vote for.
Well, I mean, I ducked them for a couple of years, like when I was in Japan.
Oh, there, I've been called out by MJ. No smoking in CrossFit. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I smoke the odd cigar. MJ was going to join in the Name of the Rose, and I'm very impressed that she's. She won't mind me saying it. I think she's not 16 anymore, but she is incredibly fit, and she practices this CrossFit. And anyone who knows me knows I like a bit of asceticism and doing things the hard way sometimes as part of my practice. But CrossFit seems a particularly invidious type of asceticism. So I said, if she reads the Name of the Rose, I'll do CrossFit for the month she's doing it. There's a gym across the road here for me that
wow.
I think I'm going to be throwing around a few tractor tires and climbing ropes and that kind of stuff next year.
How long have you been doing it?
7K a year.
And when I went like 20 years before that almost, or maybe more. And it was only 1,600. That's what I mean. Like, it just, now what is it? It's probably
37 because of made lower income. Okay, yeah, okay. Well done, Amy. Yeah. I have to say, Amy is another one of the people I first watched on BookTube. I remember she was probably the second or third person I commented on a video of hers, and she was so kind of gracious in her comments. And it's been a singular pleasure, I have to say, over the years to watch Amy's love for the antiquarian side of books grow. And not just her love for it, but her knowledge of it is astounding. What took me kind of 20 years to learn the vocabulary of and that kind of stuff, Amy has done it in a few years, and she's a real champion of being a book woman. You know, she's an absolute, and I don't think she might be saying that, but she's my definition of a book woman, someone who just loves books as kind of physical objects, as repositories of arcane and wonderful information that can look really good on a shelf. And I think she enjoys the hunt. You know, I think she enjoys the hunt for books, which is a great thing. You know?
She just costs me a lot of money, though.
Yeah, luckily I have a lot of what she got in the early days, but she's kind of specialized now, so she's left me behind in the things she was collecting. Yeah. Yeah,
it's so terrible. You know, I say to myself, that's it for this month. No more books, right? Okay, what's on BookTube? Oh my God, okay, on to, you know.
Well, I'm responsible for one of those things because the Stevenson Barry letters that you bought, Mark, because I saw that and I know Amy loves Barry, so I said, "Are you aware of this?" And then you know, in a message. And then the next thing I got back, well, it's ordered. And oh shit! I hope you like it. I don't want that. Like, ooh. And then she shows it, and then Mark grabs it.
Here's a
'cause
question.
I love Stevenson, so
Here's a question for you both. Are you ever hesitant about recommending a book because you know that there's going to be a couple of people are going to go get it and read it based on your recommendation? So I've always had this kind of weird tick where I kind of read a book and I kind of, I might talk about a book on the channel and say, I really enjoyed this book for these reasons, because it filled in a blank or it was well written or whatever. And part of my mind is going, oh no, Jason, someone could actually go out and spend money on that book and hate it. Of course, that's not my responsibility, but part of me kind of goes, oh no, I kind of not. I find it a little bit awkward sometimes when people have who go out and say, oh, I've just ordered that book you spoke about. And I go, I wish we could have talked more about it because I probably have more things to say than I said for 3 minutes in a wrap up, yeah, but I suppose I'm as guilty as anyone else for buying books then that I see on someone else's channel. I've got some great books off Sean over the years that I've seen him fossick around, especially in the darker recesses of Amazon, and he'd say there might be one or two of these copies left, and while he's talking, I'm on the laptop searching the title so I can get it for like $2.99 or something like that. You know what I mean? Some big obscure reference work on, Swedish noir movies or something like that. And I'm going, if it's $2.99, I want it. I don't care when I'm going to read it, but I'm going to buy it and order it now. So,
well, that's why it's always.
There was the one question back there before I get to Amy's. Sorry, I seem to be really there's such a delay for me, but between you two, there doesn't seem to be. But it's for some reason I get no respect, as I say.
We're the young
somebody
ones,
was saying I was kicked out. I was kicked out. Who was that? Somebody was saying that I was kicked out of Can't. Well, let's not go there. Let's just put it that way. Because if we had Steve on here, he'd be talking about gun running. He's already done that, I think.
I think it's a matter of public record that you were arrested and detained in Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm only going on the evidence available. Yeah. What's this, Biden? I don't want to talk about politics. Just forgave 10,000 of student loans per student yesterday.
Wow.
For a student, that's all right, I guess.
Yeah, and Amy might be right that they can't find they didn't find me yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I've only got to make it to the age of 60, and then I don't have to pay anything back. So that's all we've got to do,
Are you being for real? No.
No, actually, it really is unfortunate because if I was older, if I had started university in 2005 or 6, I can't remember, it's after 25 years they write it off. But if you're in the first wave, they write it off at retirement. So I think it's 60 or 65. I can't remember.
But still, you can't be making enough for the threshold. Even you might not be.
Actually, this year was the first year that I did reach the threshold, and I do pay, but it's £37 a month, so it's still going to take me a while to pay it back, right?
No, because you're a teacher, so you can't be paid much. It's just those are given. I
think that's one of the things that I guess people don't understand. I mean, teachers aren't obviously very well paid generally, and of course, I'm a teacher in the former, Soviet bloc almost, so it is. Yeah, it's poor, but it's something they're always talking about, and they should go up. I mean, it's gone up since I've been here. I mean, when I first came here, younger teachers were earning, I don't know, 600-700 euros a month.
Wow.
Now it's much better. I mean, I'm quite comfortable as a single man. I don't have a family to support.
Well, you got Elvis.
Well, I've got Elvis, yeah, but he's out there working with the sheep, earning some money. No, it's manageable actually. I mean, well, I'm doing all right, aren't I? I got a mortgage. I'm building a house, so for me, it's okay. But I'm not sure. Yeah, if I had to support children. I mean, I couldn't imagine having 3 children if I had especially if I had a wife who didn't work. It would be impossible. So, you know, we'll see. I guess what.
Yeah, well, we both work. We've always both worked. But I mean, kids are expensive.
They're so ungrateful.
Yeah, well, you pay your money.
Well, Jason, 18 means rent, doesn't it? As well, 18 means rent.
It is the cutoff point, as I have made abundantly clear several times on this video and in real life too, Noah. But no, I'll always be there for them. But yeah, the whole cost of living thing is I find it quite disconcerting when I think of people I know, and more importantly, maybe even people I don't know, who do find themselves in straitened circumstances for whatever reason. Life just didn't work out. They just lost their job. They're old. They've had a disability, something like that. And really, they're at the behest of forces that are impacting their standard of living that just seem to me to be grossly unfair. And I do really fear for, I know it was brought up last night about, this winter coming. I do really fear for people who are going to have to make decisions, maybe who do have kids on feeding them kids and feeding their kids a dinner and not themselves and stuff like that. And I don't think I'm speaking, fantastically in the realms of hyperbole here when I say that, with hyperbole. I think there is, in fact, I do know people who even in recent years would have struggled to heat their house all winter just because of, the cost of living. And now it looks like this year is going to be even worse. So I always think, we should judge ourselves on how we treat the poorest among us. This is my big Catholic hat going on now, but I think we're failing a lot, and we're failing a lot of people, and I find that sad. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't stop living our lives and put on sackcloth and give away everything we own. But I do think in the public discourse there has to be some consideration for people who, for whatever the circumstances, and I hate the victim blaming that goes on. Particularly I see it in the UK, the class that's never left. The class that Thatcher promised she would blow away, but all she done was deeply entrenched it into UK society. The class that Dickens railed against, the class that Jane Austen ignored. Class is such a thing, and this victimhood of people who struggle, and they're told, get a better job, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, go to university, get an education. A, it's not the route for everybody, and B, that kind of universal opportunity just isn't available. It just doesn't exist. And with the best will in the world, you can be a bright, talented man or woman with a great skill set. And you know what? Life just doesn't work out. Just never happens. The big break never comes. The step up the ladder doesn't come.
They keep voting these people in. This is the insane thing about English politics for me, British politics.
Tories. Yeah.
Is in no way is the Tory party for the normal working person or the normal British person, and yet people again and again and again. And I'm sorry, if you are a working class person and you vote Tory, I can't have sympathy for you when you go through hard times that the Tories have given you. You have an alternative. You have a couple of alternatives. You choose not to do it. The problem is, I think the Tories are seen as almost like a status symbol. This is, because they are the party of the wealthy, or the it's like you can tell people you've made it because, hey, I voted Tory. Look at me. I'm doing all right for myself. I don't care about anybody else. I'm just going to vote Tory, and it just makes me mad. It's the whole Brexit thing. I went on again on about it yesterday, but again, these people have voted to make their lives worse.
It's the kind of little, what do they call it? The little Englander kind of mentality. And I know a lot of people in the UK. I have a lot of good friends there. Indeed, I had family that have lived there donkey's years, went there to work back in the 60s and 70s, settled down. I was born in London. My birth cert says I'm English. Much to my brother's delight, who constantly points it out. Being a rugby fan like yourself, he would say to me, that should be a rose on your T-shirt, not a shamrock. But yeah, because I played rugby and I get very passionate watching
Yeah, me too.
the Irish stuff. When we beat New Zealand recently in the Test series, it was the pinnacle of my TV watching career. But yeah, the class thing, I think, I've been open in the past. I come from fairly humble origins. I know what it's like to not have a lot, and thankfully I've known in my life, as my situation has improved, I know what it's like to have enough to be comfortable, and I much prefer the latter. I much prefer that. But I do see a lot of classism. I think in other countries that masquerades itself as racism. In other countries that can fall into regionalism or nationalism. All these isms. But class to me is the thing. We have it a little bit in Ireland as well, because we've the kind of colonial hangover with, outside the pale, people living in the big smoke of Dublin versus the cultures in the countryside. And, historically, funds and opportunities in business have been centered, gravitated like London, this kind of epicenter. Like I worked in London back in the late 80s, early 90s, when Canary Wharf was being built. I was a welder, an industrial pipe welder, and I worked on the building of, the big tower in Canary Wharf?
Yeah.
Smoked a joint on the top of that with a South African dude. Best stuff ever. We sent it over in a little photographic, little photograph tube things.
Oh, yeah, the film.
Yeah, you just get sent over from South Africa. And we sat up there one evening with the planes flying into City of London just overhead, lying on the top decking of that building.
Oh my goodness!
I was a young man. I made mistakes, but I remember even London at that time was just buzzing, and it was all that kind of post-Thatcherite hangover. I'm too busy. I'll walk past people who are homeless. I'll step on you to get ahead. I'll kind of, I'm in it for myself, and it was a real eye opener to me. You know what I mean? I remember thinking, wow, that's quite. I remember one time in a pub there, someone commented the fact that we were in. I had my rugger boots, my big construction boots and a pair of jeans on, a t-shirt. I was a big lad. I was a big built fella, and he was kind of like, when did this become a working man's pub? You know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, shit, I'm a highly skilled ASME 11, industrial welder. I earn more in a day than you do in a week, But there you go. You judge me on how I, on how I look or how I speak and how I present.
You see, I suffered the opposite way.
Right.
Because everybody assumes I'm a diehard Tory voter. I lived, in one of the safest Tory seats in the country. I went to public school. I speak fine or differently, and everybody assumes oh yeah, he's obviously supporting the likes of Boris and the Conservative Party, and no, never voted for them in my life, never will. Never will.
I have a book by Jacob Rees-Mogg's dad, who was a book dealer.
Or The Blood in the Streets, or no?
No, a book on like buying rare books.
Oh, okay.
I think it was his. I think his dad was a book rare.
Well,
book
they owned Pickering.
Pickering when it was closing down. Yeah. And so Jacob Rees-Mogg, the only familiarity I had with him was because his dad was a rare book dealer. But I mean, he's an insufferable. He's your Tory boy, isn't he? He's who Harry Enfield was setting up. 30 years ago. He's a parody of himself, and how they try and present themselves as understanding what the common man or woman, and I even hate that term because it's so loaded, the common man or the working man. These are all hugely loaded terms. We should be careful to ascribe them to whole swathes of a population. But to think that he has any idea what it's like for someone on benefits in Sheffield with a meter on the wall and with a pound in their hand, thinking, well, I go to Iceland and get 2 frozen pizzas for the kids, but if I don't put this pound in the meter, how am I going to cook them? And that's the choices people are making. And you know, and the poverty porn I see on Channel 4, you know, benefit streets and all this kind of stuff, setting these people up as victims and setting them up to be ridiculed. Look at this woman with her 6 kids getting like £1,200 a week or something like that. Go live in her shoes for a week. It doesn't look very appealing whether she's getting £1,200 a week or not. It doesn't exactly look to me like the life of Riley people talk about. I heard someone talking about someone here saying, oh, they've got a 50-inch TV and they've got a nice car. Someone who lives in kind of social housing near me. And I go, yeah, because the guy's a drug dealer. Like, it's not because he's getting it on benefits. It's because he's down selling pills in a nightclub. The government aren't giving him thousands of pounds to buy new cars and buy like plasma televisions to put on our wall. They're either buying them on HP, paying £600 for a £200 television to effectively a loan shark, or they're doing what everyone who never had money ever done, including myself when I was young. You went out and grafted. I didn't deal drugs, but I went out and worked mixers, cash in hand jobs, whatever it took to put money in your pocket. That's what you done. You know, it's just. Sorry, I'm going on a rant now. I should.
No, but it's
Let's go back to the books.
It's absolutely justified. It was funny though, because we were at like 30 something. We dropped down to 23 viewers, and I thought,
well, I got surprised.
All the conservatives ran away then. Something, you know, so. But well, yes,
we shouldn't blame people too. You know, I mean,
people can only do the best they can with the information available to them, and if they make the wrong choices, then that's sad. But yes, back to books, right?
Yeah.
So, what are you reading at the moment, Jason?
I was reading a book this morning on the Fin de Siècle, which is like an Oxford compendium of essays. I have a book with an inscription and a letter in it that makes reference to Ouida, the artist, and it talks about how some of the artwork was being, I think from the context of the letter, kind of hidden from our executors to be kind of sold privately. So I was just doing a bit of research, but I'm fascinated by that fin de siècle turn of the cusp of a century is always an interesting time because change happens whether you like it or not, because people feel compelled to reinvent themselves, reinvent art, reinvent literature because a new century is dawning. You know, cinema reinvents itself, the theater reinvents itself. So that's what I was reading this morning, doing a bit of kind of what I call research, which was just fly hopping from article to article using the index, reading up on a character, but learning lots about the world around that person. Yeah,
it's too modern for Sean, though, isn't it?
Early 19th century, yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. I always like the. I never knew much about it until I moved here, but I love the whole kind of First Republic period here. Because it's a new country, so rather than being a new century, it's literally a new country that was born into Europe, and how they went about doing it, and it was incredible. I mean, not many people know that Czechoslovakia was one of the world's top 10 economies prior to the Second World War. I mean, imagine that this little country was in the top 10 of world economies, you know, and. But I see it. I mean, even after the years of communism, it's very different here. I mean, this is the most successful of the former socialist countries in Europe. And, you know, you have Skoda automobiles or whatever. They're built just down the road. There's one of the big factories there. You know, and they're all over the place at the moment. Okay, I know they're owned by Volkswagen, but, you know, oh, sorry, Philip's... bringing us back to politics. Completely agree, Philip. Back to the books.
Well, I've loaded up the Kindle with a few books, so I'm probably a bit like you. I watch for the daily deals. You know, they might have 8 or 10 books that are down to like, well, it's all 99 cents. There's none of them free because there's VAT on the books. But I have Kindle Unlimited, which I've less explored because it's a bit of a minefield to navigate. And I find if you read something, say one book in a series like a cozy mystery or something, suddenly you're inundated with the other 48 titles in that series. I don't know how these people are writing so many books, but I do like just kind of, I'm careful. I don't want to overload the Kindle with stuff because I'm relatively new, only last December starting reading on it, but I love it. And I find I'm taking chances, if you like. For £1, I'll buy a history book by a historian I don't know just to see if it's good and see if. So I have a couple of Irish interest ones on some aspects of Irish history. We just had the centenary of the assassination of Michael Collins on the 22nd, who was a leader in 1916 and famously went over and signed the treaty in London, which led to the Civil War in Ireland. And General Michael Collins would be kind of a kind of hero of mine as a model of someone who cared deeply about his country and his people. So I've been reading some stuff that's coming out on that period, the Irish Civil War, the 1916 Rising.
I'm very interested in
very
that.
interesting periods of time, you know.
I'm very interested in that too, primarily because of Erskine Childers.
Erskine Childers, yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, Roger Casement is another great example.
Roger Casement, yeah. I mean, it's a weird thing because I mean they were both English born. I guess Childers was Anglo-Irish, was he? Probably.
Yeah, they kind of straddled the Anglo-Irish kind of full English as well, if you know what I mean. The Anglo-Irish.
But the whole scenario around his execution, or the whole thing around his execution, is just very bizarre to me. And you know, and then of course I do think it's fantastic that his son went on to be the 4th president of Ireland, though. So
president of Ireland, yeah, and a lot of the leaders
and
did,
a Protestant,
you know,
of course, which a lot of people wouldn't realize.
Yeah, the sectarian thing really flared up in Northern Ireland. I'm not going to get into it here now because I've been a good Catholic boy and a nationalist, but the a lot of the kind of pivotal leaders in the push for an independent, free Ireland back in the day were Anglo-Irish, like what we call Anglo-Irish ascendancy, because they were in the position to get involved in politics. They had there's Richard, there's Mark there now. Dare I say they had the privilege of being able to, Countess Markowitz, you know, wonderful female heroine of Irish history, you know, and they were the scourge of the British Parliament. You know what I mean? They really went there and they gave as good as they got as well. Some of these people were voted as MPs, as you know, at the time, you know. But yeah, it's superbly interesting. Erskine Childers, Roger Casement, you know, and the besmirching of his name because of his sexuality and stuff like that. The infamous Casement diaries, the Black Diaries, etc. You know, he landed down in Bannastrand here, and you had this weird synergy as well at the time with Germany getting kind of supplies and guns for the Germans because the enemy of the enemy is my friend kind of mentality, you know, when it came to the British. Yeah, it was it's an interesting period. And
Casement was executed by the British.
Yes, for treason, yeah.
Whereas Childers was executed by the Irish.
Yes.
One faction of the
also more or less for treason, if you like. Yeah. The Civil War here was fairly brutal. Families really did turn against each other, you know. Brothers fought brothers.
Yeah.
And the big mistake that happened in the 1916 Rising, I think, if you look at it, you know, it's not the only reason, but the Rising itself was pretty unsuccessful. It was very localized in Dublin, lasted a few short days, and overwhelming firepower kind of caused a surrender because of fear of death to civilians, and they weren't really supported by the local population. When the men and women of the GPO were being led away by the British Army down the streets of Dublin, up to Dublin Castle and Kilmainham Jail, they were jeered and heckled by the onlookers in Dublin, who were kind of like, "What have you done to our city?" You know. But then the British decided to execute the leaders. They picked a couple of the leaders, James Connolly famously was executed sitting in a chair because he was wounded and couldn't stand.
Yeah.
And you made the classic mistake of creating martyrs, and they were martyrs because they believed that blood had to be shed. There was Paul Rick Pierce, one of the leaders of the 1916, had that philosophy and wrote about it, that the bloodshed has to happen for the nation to be created. They didn't shy away from that. But it was a tactical error and mistake by the British authorities to execute the leaders of the 1916 Rising.
Definitely.
And it garnered not only huge Irish sympathy, but huge international sympathy from the diaspora in America, etc., etc. And massive amount of funds and support started to flow in, and then the rest, as they say, is history, and a very interesting history at that. But it's like everything else, Mark. You're right. It's way more complex and nuanced, and everything is not as black and white as people like to think. And sometimes the good guys turned out to be the bad guys, and sometimes who are casted the bad guys maybe weren't so bad after all. History's written by the winners.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I always think it was very lucky for De Valera that he had his American passport.
Well, I wouldn't like to cast aspersions on him, but yeah, you could say it was a stroke of genius that he happened to. Yeah. Of course, he's from this neck of the woods as well, and we've had presidents from Clare as well, President Hillary and stuff like that. So we've
I like the current one.
Yeah, Michael D. Higgins.
With his dogs, yeah.
His great dogs, and he's a Labour man. That's what his life politically was, in Labour. Always a champion of workers' rights and women's rights, and a great champion of the underdogs. A fine poet in his own right. I met Steve Fuller for breakfast recently, Full Beard Lit. Here he was visiting Ireland, and I met him in Ballyvaughan, and I brought him a couple of Michael D's books of poetry as a gift, because he's a poet himself, So we tend to be lucky with our presidents. We've had some good men and women as presidents of Ireland, yeah.
Well, of course, I always know them just because of the rugby.
Yeah, because they come out and shake everyone.
They come out, they shake everybody's hands. You have to have like 3 anthems, and
Yeah, we've got this weird thing where we've got the Irish national anthem, but then because rugby is an all-Ireland, all-island sport, we have I think it was Phil Coulter, and I don't mind the fact it's done. I recognise that we should respect tradition, so that's not the issue. I just hate the song, Ireland's Call. It's just schmaltzy.
It's like a cheap drinking song.
Patriotic, like people, you can see them almost cringe and singing it.
Yeah.
But the problem is they wanted to recognise the fact that some of the players who play proudly for Ireland as Irish rugby players, both men and women, it's an all-Ireland, as I say. So people from the 6 counties of Northern Ireland are included, and that isn't their anthem. The national anthem of Ireland, of the Republic of Ireland, is not their anthem. So,
and you wouldn't want the other one played probably at.
Well, Éireann na Bhín is another. The Irish national anthem is called Éireann na Bhín, which literally translates to the soldier.
No, sorry, I meant the alternative one for those people who are not Irish.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's Ireland's Call is terrible. Yeah, I've never seen it, but I'll lash out a good Éireann na Bhín now, which translates to soldier song.
I don't like God Save the Queen. I have to say, I find it very dull and boring. I would much rather have something a bit more, something like Jerusalem, maybe. I don't know. It's got.
Oh no, French. I've been at French internationals when the Marseillaise been sung.
Marseillaise is great.
It's the best anthem in the stadium, and I know it, and I belt it out with the best of them. I'll grab the nearest French guy and give him a hug and a kiss, and I'll go, Marshal, I'll give it Holly, like, yeah, I love the French national anthem.
Yeah, no, I do as well. I'm not sure about Flower of Scotland sometimes. I like it when it's got the music, but I don't like it when it's.
Here's a question for you. When the Queen, God bless her, passes away, which will happen probably sooner rather than later, I don't mean any malice, just her age, does it revert to God Save the King?
Yeah.
The national anthem. So it becomes God Save Our Gracious King, Long Live Our Noble King. Okay, so that just flips automatically.
Flips. I guess. I'm sure they don't have to do anything to change it. I mean, It was
We're
God
so
Save the King.
We're so gender aware in the UK.
Well, yeah.
But
God
also,
save them.
also,
Oh, Canada. Are you going to start singing that now, Sean? Oh, Canada.
I was going to say, from coins, what they do with the coins with the direction of the face.
Yeah, they switched the way the face looks between each monarch. Yeah.
Well, I always think the Canadian anthem's interesting because, who are you standing on guard against, Sean?
The Fenians.
I have no
Oh,
idea.
the Americans.
No, but did you know the Fenians launched a raid into Canada?
No, I didn't.
Have you heard of the Fenian raid? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
I don't think so.
There's
If I
even
did,
a
I've
metaphor.
forgotten about it.
The Fenian raid, yeah. We love a good scrap anywhere, the Irish. We'll fight for any flag if the money's right.
Well, we've got a few people leaving because they finished work, so they're heading home. Heading home instead of staying at work.
Well, that's been very productive. And actually, I'm looking at the time here. I
think it probably is. Yeah, sorry. Well, to kept you so long, but oh, here we go. Mark's written. They're watching out for Vermont.
Vermont Fenians, yeah. He'd probably know about the Fenian raids in Canada. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Those people up in Vermont, they're very close to the Canadian border. Eh? They've got one eye over on the maple syrup, One of my bucket list items is to go and hang out with Mark in Vermont and smoke a fat stoogie cigar on his porch as the sun goes down. And I'll probably just shoot deer for the hell of it.
America.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, this has been great, but I am going to have to go because I've got to go on the night shift to pay for my kids' college education.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's time for me to pack some shelves.
Super.
Thanks for having me on. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming. Really.
Sorry if I went a bit off the rails, not talking about books, but
it doesn't matter. It's not. We can talk about anything. So see you next time. Thanks so much, Jason. I look forward to hearing more about Umberto Eco's reading of it.
It should be interesting, and I think for people who haven't read him, it'll be a good opportunity. Maybe not to join in the whole thing, but certainly to dip in and get a good, thorough guide through one of the books, and hopefully we'll all enjoy it and learn a little bit more. Anyone who wants is more than welcome.
Wonderful.
Okay,
all right,
good
take care.
God bless you all. Take it easy.
And you. Bye. I think probably us as well, Sean, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you look like you're ready for sleep. So,
well, no, there's definitely a lag, and I couldn't get a word in edgewise most times, so I figured there's no use.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. But Sean and I are going to bed, but not together, of course. So good night. Take care, and enjoy the rest of your days as well. If it's not quite evening for you. Bye, everybody. Cheers.